On 22nd January 1959, a catastrophic event unfolded in Jenkins Township, Pennsylvania, marking a dark day in the history of anthracite coal mining. This tragedy claimed the lives of 12 miners and effectively signaled the end of the anthracite coal industry in northeastern Pennsylvania. To understand the enormity of this event, it is essential to delve into its background, the circumstances that led to it, the harrowing events of that day, and the profound aftermath that reshaped an entire region. The Wyoming Valley, nestled in northeastern Pennsylvania, had long been a hub of anthracite coal mining. By the mid-20th century, however, the once thriving industry was in decline. The advent of alternative energy sources such as oil and natural gas had significantly reduced the demand for anthracite coal. Despite this downturn, mining companies continued operations, often resorting to perilous cost-cutting measures to maintain profitability. Among these companies was the Knox Coal Company, which operated the River Slope mine. The company's reputation was marred by allegations of unsafe practices and ties to organized crime. These factors would play a pivotal role in the disaster that unfolded. One of the most reckless practices employed by Knox Coal Company was mining dangerously close to the Susquehanna Riverbed. Regulations mandated that at least 35 feet of rock be left intact between the mine's ceiling and the river to prevent collapses. However, Knox Coal Company's operations reduced this protective layer to as little as 6 feet in some areas. This disregard for safety, coupled with the use of heavy machinery in these fragile sections, created a ticking time bomb. Many miners had voiced their concerns about the risks, but these warnings were largely ignored. Fear of losing their jobs in an economically depressed region kept most workers silent. On the morning of January 22, 1959, miners at the River Slope mine began their workday unaware of the impending catastrophe. By mid-morning, ominous sounds of cracking rock and dripping water began to echo through the tunnels. Around 11:20 a.m., the thin rock barrier between the mine and the Susquehanna River gave way. The river burst into the mine with overwhelming force, creating a massive whirlpool on the surface. Millions of gallons of icy water surged into the tunnels, flooding them rapidly and leaving the miners with little time to react. As the floodwaters poured in, chaos ensued underground. A total of 81 miners were working in the mine at the time of the collapse. The flood filled the tunnels with terrifying speed, cutting off escape routes and plunging the mine into darkness. Amidst the chaos, acts of heroism and desperation unfolded. Many miners scrambled through narrow, water-filled passageways in search of safety. Some used their intimate knowledge of the mine's layout to guide others to secondary exits. Their determination and quick thinking saved lives, but not everyone was as fortunate. 12 miners became trapped and were unable to escape the rising waters. Their bodies were never recovered, as the conditions within the mine made recovery efforts impossible. Above ground, the disaster was immediately evident. Residents of Jenkins Township and nearby communities witnessed the formation of a massive whirlpool on the surface of the Susquehanna River. This swirling vortex was a stark visual representation of the disaster unfolding beneath their feet. Rescue efforts commenced swiftly but were hampered by the scale of the flooding and the unstable conditions within the mine. While 69 miners managed to escape, the community was left grappling with the devastating loss of 12 lives and the profound implications of the disaster. The aftermath of the Knox Mine Disaster was far-reaching and multifaceted. Investigations into the incident revealed gross negligence and corruption within the Knox Coal Company. Company executives, including President Robert Dougherty, were found guilty of conspiracy and other charges related to their disregard for safety regulations. These legal proceedings exposed the broader systemic issues within the coal mining industry, where profit often took precedence over worker safety. The disaster also highlighted the pervasive influence of organized crime in the industry, further tarnishing its reputation. Economically, the disaster dealt a death blow to the anthracite coal industry in northeastern Pennsylvania. The River Slope mine was permanently sealed, and many other mines in the region closed in the years that followed. Thousands of miners lost their jobs, and entire communities that had relied on coal mining for generations faced economic collapse. The Knox Mine Disaster thus became a symbol of the end of an era for the Wyoming Valley and the broader anthracite coal region. The environmental impact of the disaster was also significant. The breach in the Susquehanna Riverbed caused extensive damage, and efforts to stabilize the river and plug the hole required years of work and substantial financial investment. The disaster underscored the long-term consequences of unsafe mining practices, not only for workers but also for the environment and surrounding communities. For the families of the 12 miners who lost their lives, the Knox Mine Disaster was a personal tragedy of unimaginable proportions. The absence of recoverable remains left many families without closure. The community mourned the loss collectively, and the disaster became a somber chapter in the region's history. Memorials and annual remembrances were established to honor the miners and ensure that their sacrifices were not forgotten. The legacy of the Knox Mine disaster is one of caution and reflection. It serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of prioritizing profit over safety and the devastating consequences of corporate negligence. In the years since the disaster, it has been commemorated through books, documentaries, and historical markers. These efforts aim to preserve the memory of the event and its victims while imparting lessons about the importance of worker safety and environmental stewardship. The profound impact of the Knox Mine disaster also extended to policy and labor movements. The tragedy highlighted the urgent need for stricter regulations in the mining industry, prompting lawmakers to reconsider and reinforce safety standards. It invigorated labor unions, empowering workers to demand better working conditions and stronger protections against corporate negligence. The disaster's aftermath served as a turning point in advocating for miners' rights and holding companies accountable for their actions. Today, the site of the disaster remains a poignant symbol of the region's history. The once thriving anthracite coal industry has faded into the past, but the stories of those who lived and worked in the mines endure. The Knox Mine disaster stands as a testament to the resilience of a community that faced unimaginable loss and adversity. It is a story of tragedy and survival, of recklessness and accountability, and of a region forever changed by the events of that fateful day in January 1959. In the years following the disaster, survivors and family members came together to share their experiences, creating a living archive of oral histories that deepen our understanding of the tragedy. Their testimonies paint a vivid picture of the mine's treacherous conditions and the heartbreaking choices faced by those trapped underground. These personal narratives have been instrumental in ensuring that the lessons of the Knox Mine disaster are not forgotten. The disaster also served as a catalyst for academic and journalistic inquiry, inspiring numerous studies and publications that explore its many dimensions. Scholars have examined the geological factors that contributed to the collapse, the socio-political context of the mining industry, and the cultural impact of the disaster on the region. These works provide a comprehensive view of the Knox Mine disaster as not just an isolated event, but a reflection of broader societal issues and challenges. One enduring symbol of the disaster is the whirlpool that formed on the surface of the Susquehanna River. This natural phenomenon, caused by the collapse of the riverbed into the mine, became an eerie and unforgettable image of the disaster. In the immediate aftermath, engineers and workers labored tirelessly to fill the breach and restore stability to the river. Thank you for watching this video. Hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more interesting videos.